made to you so special? Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn!
Were you scared of that? No, not at all, huh?
Nope, I'm from Brooklyn.
You're from Brooklyn, huh?
Okay guys, Frank Style, just a guy from Brooklyn, and I'm here to bring you the top 15 basketball movies of all time. My three first loves: Millie from Sunset Park, hip-hop music, and of course, the sport of basketball. I've been playing ever since I could pick up a ball. I love to play it. I love to watch it. And in 2011, I was given my dream job to work in Madison Square Garden for the New York Knicks. Shout out to Serafin Alion, my supervisor, and Dr. Lisa Callahan, who I work for directly. But enough of all that. Let's get to my two rules so we can start this ranking. Rule number one is spoilers. I don't plan on spoiling anything, but I don't want to have to worry about that. So I'm giving you a medium to hard spoiler warning on this video. Rule number two is, as always, this is a favorites list, not a best list. So the best way you can come at me about my list is to show me yours in the comments section. Coming in at honorable mention number one is The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh, came out in 1979. A kid named Tyrone, an astrologer named Mona, and a star player named Moses, played by NBA legend Dr. J, turn a terrible professional basketball team into winners by recruiting players under the astrological sign of Pisces. So you got Dr. J, Rizzo from the movie Grease, and a little kid in a very weird 70s disco basketball movie that really can't be taken seriously. If there's a single reason to watch it, it's to see a prime Julius Erving, and I also noticed Kareem and a few Laker players on the opposing team in the finale. Coming in at honorable mention number two is Space Jam, came out in 1996. In a desperate attempt to win a basketball match and earn their freedom, the Looney Tunes seek the aid of retired basketball champion Michael Jordan. I was a grown man and a Pistons fan to boot when this came out, and although this showcased other NBA players combined with Looney Tunes characters, I was interested in more, let's say, adult content at that time. There are definitely some funny pop culture references like Pulp Fiction and such. So if your kids are into basketball and you want to take a stroll through the 90s celebrating the league's best player, this is for you. Coming in at honorable mention number three is Fast Break, came out in 1979. Welcome Back Kotter's Gabe Kaplan plays David Green, a New York basketball enthusiast who wants to be a coach. So he's offered a job at a small Nevada college. So he brings along a few players who are talented but a bit odd, headlined by Hustler, played by New York Knicks legend Bernard King, as well as Swish, who, unknown to the rest of the team, is actually a girl. This predates movies like Just One of the Guys and He's the Man, so I gotta give credit where credit is due. And along with some students at the college, he turns them into a contender. Kaplan's comedy has always been a more laid-back style, and King looks like a man amongst boys. He was just such a complete beast. This is a solid, albeit forgotten, entry. Kicking things off at number 15 is Air, came out in 2023. The true story of how Nike's basketball shoe division was struggling in 1984 and how marketing VP Rob Strasser and CEO Phil Knight, played by Ben Affleck, tasked talent scout Sonny Vaccaro, played by Matt Damon, to find a new spokesperson for their shoes. Although third draft pick Michael Jordan was considered off limits due to his preference for Adidas and Converse, Vaccaro convinced them that Jordan was a generational talent. The movie cleverly keeps Jordan off screen, but make no bones about it, this is all about him and his decision to choose little underdog Nike and turn them into the juggernaut they are today. And how did they do it? They fucking cheated, of course, by showing up on the Jordan's front lawn. And Mama Jordan ain't no punk. But I think the really powerful scene here is Damon's pitch speech at the end of the movie that sent shivers down my spine. Coming in at number 14 is The Winning Season, came out in 2009. Sam Rockwell plays Bill, a former high school basketball coach working as a busboy, struggling with heavy drinking and a distant relationship with his teenage daughter. He gets a shot at redemption when his friend, a high school principal, asks him to coach the local girls' basketball team. I went into this expecting a teeny bopper movie and instead got a female Bad News Bears tackling everything from alcohol to statutory charges. And the cast isn't bad with Emma Roberts and Rooney Mara. There's also tiny little subplots like a girl questioning her own sexuality to another girl refusing to pass to her Mexican teammate. The basketball isn't going to impress you, but the depth of this movie certainly will.
Well, you gotta stay tight on that big girl. Under the bucket, come on.
What do you mean, a big girl?
What?
Do you mean fat? Look, just because someone's big, it doesn't mean they're fat.
Okay, I didn't say she was fat.
No, but you called her big. It's the same thing.
Jesus Christ, who gives a shit?
See, that's the attitude that causes girls to have eating disorders.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 13 is Rez Ball, came out in 2024. The Chuska Warriors, a high school basketball team on the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico, must unite after a tragic loss greatly reduces their chances at chasing a state championship. Through this team, followed by the reservation on a Hoosiers level, you learn the struggle of Native Americans living on reservations, or more appropriate, dying on reservations. They are truly in a sad state. After losing their player who averaged 30 a game, their coach teaches them small ball, 7 seconds or less, and just like Rocky 2 with Rock chasing chickens, she has the entire team herding sheep, learning to work as a team. Genius. Coming in at number 12 is The Way Back, came out in 2020. Ben Affleck plays Jack Cunningham, working a dead-end job that he hates and living his life as a lonely alcoholic divorcee. He's asked by his alma mater, where he was a star, to come back and coach their currently losing boys basketball team. He reluctantly agrees but refuses to give up his life of alcohol. And yet he builds them up to believe in each other. Affleck has struggled with alcohol addiction for over 2 decades, publicly entering his first rehab program in 2001. So he clearly puts a lot of himself in the role, and it shows. I have to admit, this has lots of comparisons to Winning Season. This feels a little bit more serious, with more focus on Cunningham. He does develop a nice connection with his best player, and he pushes him to be a leader. He also clashes with the school, which is heavy on the Christian side, so they're constantly telling him to calm down on the profanity. This is a solid basketball movie with a ton of drama and a nice twist or two. Coming in at number 11 is Blue Chips, came out in 1994. Principled college basketball coach Pete Bell, played by Nick Nolte, is under pressure to end a losing streak, so he compromises his morals. He allows wealthy boosters to illegally pay top-tier high school recruits, known as the Blue Chips, to join his team, ultimately exposing the deep corruption of amateur athletics. This is less about basketball and more about recruiting, but don't worry because they bring in Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal to play the hired guns, and ironically they would join forces in Orlando shortly after. Nolte gives a passionate performance, struggling to live with his choices and having to hide it from his wife Jenny. The basketball scenes are ripe with talent, although they have certain players playing for opposing teams. Bobby Hurley on Indiana? Come on, man. But this is all overshadowed by the personality known as Shaquille O'Neal. He just seems to steal every scene he's in, and you just see his special personality just explode on the film. Kicking off my top 10 is Teen Wolf. Came out in 1985. Michael J. Fox plays Scott Howard, an ordinary high school student who discovers he's a hereditary werewolf. Using his supernatural abilities, he transforms into a basketball star and gains massive popularity. However, he soon has to figure out if people like him for who he is or just for his new wild identity. Fox became almost a phenomenon in the 80s, starring in hit after hit with no letdown in sight. Although this is a horror teen comedy first, the basketball scenes are at the center of all the themes that make up this story. The scene where he wolfs out in the middle of a game pretty much just shocks everybody in the gym, and it truly is comical as the reactions are not necessarily what you think they would be. Coming in at number 9 is Champions, came out in 2023. Woody Harrelson plays Marcus Markovich, a hot-headed assistant coach for a minor league basketball team. He gets fired after shoving the head coach and later crashing into a police car while drunk. Given a choice between jail or community service, he chooses to coach a team of players with learning disabilities known as the Friends. Initially resistant, Marcus begins to bond with the team and learns to care about the players and their lives. He improves the team, leading them to the Special Olympics, while at the same time trying to land a coaching position in the NBA. Okay, so the basketball here isn't exactly noteworthy, but you are gonna fall in love with this group just like Marcus does. My favorite, the guy who keeps bragging about his 2 girlfriends.
I was scared when I had my first 3-way, but it was good.
Coming in at number 8 is Hoosiers. Came out in 1986. Norman Dale arrives in rural Hickory, Indiana to coach the local high school basketball team, the Hickory Huskers. Dale faces heavy criticism from the basketball-obsessed town due to his strict, unusual rules. He guides the tiny underdog squad past fierce local pressure all the way to the state finals. People who live in the big city will probably never understand what it is to live in a small town and what it is for that town to get behind a high school basketball team. I mean, the entire town is in like a cult here. Gene Hackman comes in, rips the team down in order to build them up from scratch. Instead of begging star player Jimmy Chitwood to come back, he almost treats him with a mild neglect. He also hires the town drunk, played by Dennis Hopper, to aid on the bench. And all these moves infuriates the town, who in turn look to remove Dale. Hoosiers is basketball, and for a time, this was the benchmark for what all other basketball movies strive to be. But the genre has evolved so much since then. Coming in at number 7 is Love and Basketball, came out in 2000. A romantic sports drama following childhood neighbors Monica Wright and Quincy McCall as they pursue professional basketball careers and navigate a decades-long romance. Divided into 4 quarters representing stages in their lives, the story tracks their journeys both together and apart, which makes you ask, what happens when your love of the sport collides with your lifelong partner? There's multiple struggles. Monica, played perfectly by Sana Latham, must continue to prove herself at every level, while Quincy, played by Omar Epps, is the cocky phenom who's hit by the revelation of his father's infidelities. Their chemistry is undeniable. In this love story, that feels like one big 90s R&B time capsule. Coming in at number 6 is Glory Road, came out in 2006. In 1965, high school girls basketball coach Don Haskins is invited by the Texas Western Miners to be their coach. Despite the lack of budget, Haskins sees the chance to dispute the NCAA and moves in with his wife and children to the college dorms. He recruits 7 talented and rejected black players to play with 5 Caucasian players and formed a legendary team that won the 1966 national championship against the powerful Kentucky. This is, for all intents and purposes, Remember the Titans, the basketball version. And that is not a negative at all. This historic movie is about breaking down racial barriers. It's about stereotypes like white organized basketball versus black street ball, and how both combined makes for a very dangerous team. When compared to Titans, Josh Lucas, who plays Haskins, obviously he is not Denzel Washington, nor does he have Will Patton on the bench. And if it was on that level, this might be number 1 on this list. Coming in at number 5 is White Man Can't Jump, came out in 1992. Woody Harrelson plays Billy Hoyle, a former college player who uses his unassuming look to trick opponents into thinking he can't play. After hustling Sidney Dean, a skilled trash-talking local street baller played by Wesley Snipes, they join forces to con players on outdoor courts all over Los Angeles. This movie is about hustling first and foremost. You've got your short cons and your long cons. Those who've seen it know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's also a character study and the relationships between the trinity of Billy, Sidney, and Gloria, Billy's girlfriend played by Rosie Perez. Although most of the basketball talent here isn't professional, retired NBA player Marcus Johnson does a really fun, memorable scene as he attempts to rob a local grocery store to get the money he needs to play against Billy and Sidney. As Gloria says to him, "Sometimes you win, but you still lose. And sometimes you lose, you still win." Coming in at number 4 is Above the Rim, came out in 1994. Promising high school basketball star Kyle Watson, torn between a college future and the dangerous lure of the local neighborhood gang. Heavy focus is on Shep, played by Leon Robinson, a talented basketball player who feels responsible for his best friend's death, which causes him to leave his family. Although his basketball demons torment him, he's pulled into Kyle's world accidentally by dating his mother. Kyle is also courted by Shep's brother Birdie, played by Tupac Shakur, as Birdie took to crime out of necessity after Shep's absence. I must mention Wood Harris, who famously played Avon Barksdale in HBO's show The Wire, and he plays a very similar kind of soldier role here. Marlon Wayans plays like the comic relief, but I absolutely found him to be pretty annoying most of the time. But the true standout is Bernie Mac, who plays a homeless guy who decides to mess with Kyle. Coming in at number 3 is He Got Game, came out in 1998. Denzel Washington plays Jake Shuttlesworth, an incarcerated man who is secretly temporarily released on parole for 1 week. His mission: to convince his estranged son Jesus, the nation's top high school prospect, to sign with the governor's alma mater in exchange for a reduced sentence for Jake. Jesus is played by retired NBA star Ray Allen, and this is the opposite side of that blue chips coin, focused on the prospect, not the school, and all the dangers associated with said prospect. You got people offering you bribes, you got family, friends, and even loved ones who might not necessarily be working in Jesus' best interests. You also learn the revelation of what landed Jake in prison and it's all pretty powerful stuff. Although Jake is there to improve his situation, he still tries to be a father to his kids. He gives Jesus advice and he watches over him, spotting threats all along the way. I have to say this, amongst all of Spike Lee's movies, this has to be the raunchiest. And no, it's not for Rosario Dawson, who plays Jesus' girlfriend. But you do have Mila Jovovich playing a prostitute who is kind of a love interest for Jake. And then you've got this college visit scene with tons of girls throwing themselves at Jesus. And then he's sent into a room to meet some assistant coaches for a threesome. And my runner-up at number 2 is Hustle. Came out in 2022. Adam Sandler plays Stanley Sugarman, an unlucky Sixers scout, passed for promotion time and time again. And after a change in ownership, he's told, find us a white whale and we will promote you. While in Spain, he accidentally discovers Bo Cruz, played by NBA player Juancho Hernan Gomez, a raw street ball talent. And against Sixers' direction, Sugarman decides to train Cruz for the NBA draft on his own. While Blue Chips and He Got Game was all about recruiting, Hustle is all about scouting, having a keen eye to spot a diamond in the rough. Kermit Wiltz, played by now NBA superstar Anthony Edwards, is the perfect antagonist as he goats and challenges Cruz at every opportunity. And Edwards is just the beginning of NBA representation, as this movie might boast the most in the genre. There's also huge sacrifices, as Cruz must leave his daughter behind and live with Sugarman and his family, played by Queen Latifah and Jordan Elizabeth Hull. I think this movie shows you a part of the game that nobody would really see. They have to go out, travel all over the world to find these players. It really is interesting, fascinating stuff. And my number 1 basketball movie is Coach Carter. Came out in 2005. Samuel Jackson plays Ken Carter, who takes over the head coaching position at his old high school, Richmond, having played on the team himself, earning unbeaten records. Carter quickly learns that the athletes are rude, disrespectful, and in need of discipline. After making his presence felt, he demands all his players sign contracts requiring them to attend all classes and maintain a passing GPA. This is based on a true story that made national headlines in 1999 for Carter eventually benching his entire team, jeopardizing a winning season. While Above the Rim was about one talented player, this is more of a group of kids all with different journeys. You've got some great performances from guys like Rob Brown, a young Channing Tatum, singer Ashanti, and Rick Gonzalez, who plays the knucklehead thug of the group. What sets this apart? The way he trains these kids. Also names all his principals and plays after women in his life.
Her name's Diane. She was always on my case about every little thing. Turn down that radio. Did you drink all the Kool-Aid? She was always in my face. So when I called Diane, we're gonna play straight man-to-man pressure defense.
At one point, the team is invited to a tournament, and after winning said tournament, the boys are invited to a party where they escape their hotel rooms, and well, they have a ball. Unfortunately, Carter catches them, and on the trip home, he scolds them for sleeping with white girls.
Oh, was it everything I dreamed of? Good. She had pink nipples, didn't she?
I happened to connect with this young group of kids as I hung out with a similar group at that age. We became pretty tight, playing every Saturday, and I still remember those blimpy subs we used to get after playing all day long. Extra salt and vinegar are my blimpy best. Probably not the healthiest meal after exercise. So guys, that about does it from the BK from the city that never sleeps. Peace, baby.
This is a Brooklyn-bound express train. The next stop is Brooklyn Bridge.
Stand